This morning, some of the most powerful CEOs in the world, including the heads of Apple, Amazon, Pepsi, and Walmart, are talking about changing the rules of capitalism. The Business Roundtable, a group of nearly 200 CEOs from major U.S. corporations, issuing a statement yesterday saying that the purpose of a corporation is no longer to serve shareholders and the company's bottom line. The new focus: this, investing in employees, delivering value to customers, dealing ethically with suppliers, and supporting the communities in which they work. Sounds good, but is it for real? Christopher Leonard back with me, Dan Nathan, and joining the conversation, a dear old friend of mine, Barry Ritholtz, chairman of Ritholtz Wealth Management. Barry, to you first. This all sounds really good, but can CEOs actually change the rules? Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan, he's a fiduciary. The shareholders, they're the ones who own the company.
Sure. Well, you have to think of it in either long-term or short-term goals. And let me give kudos to Jamie as chairman of the roundtable. It's not easy to move a battleship like that. They're very slow to make changes. This is half a century of adherence to an esoteric belief system that the only thing that matters is profits. That's very short term. When you think about employees, when you think about customers, when you think about the community you work in, if you make those folks realize that you're a positive force, that's going to end up working in your favor in the long run. The focus on just next quarter's earnings, that's a very short-term belief system, which unfortunately has dominated corporate America for decades.
So you're backing this and believing it in a big way?
Well, no. Let's be clear. I can't hear what they're saying because what they've done is speaking so loud. Look at some of the signatories to this. Who is better at tax avoidance than Apple and Amazon? They both signed on to this. Rather than just waving a flag, how about you guys pay your taxes? I could go through just about every one of the 181 signatures and tell you what they've done wrong over the past 30 years.
Christopher, this sounds really good, but to Barry's point, they've got a bad track record. Are you buying this?
Well, okay, rhetorically, this is significant because, as you said, this would be a change in the corporate theory that we've been running under since the 1970s. But there's an important part missing from this, which is public policy and what the federal government does. The Business Roundtable was formed in 1972 with the specific goal of lobbying against the regulatory structure of the time, which was called the New Deal. The New Deal broke up monopolies, it empowered labor unions, it regulated Wall Street, and the Business Roundtable's been lobbying against that for decades. So as much as they might change the rhetoric and the language, that is important. But what you also have to look at is the political context in which these companies are going to be operating.
Okay, so Dan, if these companies don't want regulations put in place that would force this new ethos into place, if it's just about guidelines, why would we believe these guidelines will make a commitment if the market turns?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I mean, I think this is in some ways a reaction to Trumpism. If you think about it, over the last few years, corporate leaders have actually had to answer to their customers and their employees on a lot of really important issues having to do with the environment, having to do with LGBTQ rights. You know, I mean, the list goes on, and you think about it, their feet are being put to the fire, and I think polling shows you that the arc of the political universe in the U.S. is really bending towards more progressive politics. And I think these CEOs recognize, A, their lack of diversity, but B, the control that they have over millions and millions of employees and what their obligations are to them and their consumers. And I think they're kind of getting in front of it, putting a kind of softer edge on corporate America. So to me, I think it makes sense on the fringes. If it's just window dressing at the very least, I think it gives the CEOs a little bit of cover that they are not just a fiduciary anymore, but they also have this social responsibility.
From a sentiment standpoint, the shift is hugely positive, but can it be trusted? Think about this. Something not mentioned in the letters: CEO pay. Executive compensation for the 100 highest paid CEOs in the company, they're making 254 times the median income of employees at their company. So Dan can talk all day long about what employees are now demanding and what they care about. You know what they care about? Providing for their families, and that's not mentioned here.
Right. They care about pay. They care about health care coverage. Look at some of the signatories to this letter who have been very aggressive lobbyists against an increase in the minimum wage. Walmart is a perfect example. They've been opposing minimum wage increases for years and years. I don't recall if McDonald's is on the list. They're another corporate welfare queen who wants tax subsidies for their employees in the guise of aid to dependent children and food stamps and other things. They used to have a McHelpline, so employees who are paid by a private for-profit company could also simultaneously be on the corporate dole, on the government dole, so they don't have to pay actual fair wages. So the actions that we have yet to see are really going to tell the tale.
But Christopher, then maybe is this a great first step? These 200 CEOs are opening the door to say we care about all stakeholders and providing real value to our employees. Now that they've said that, can't one put their feet to the fire and say, all right, let's go deliver?
Well, one could. And again, we are talking about two realms here, action and rhetoric. As you just pointed out, CEO pay is at the highest level it's been in decades. The Business Roundtable has been diligently lobbying to increase CEO pay for decades. That's what they do. So now the question is, what comes next? And there are a lot of options on the table. For example, in Germany, you have members of labor who can sit on the board of directors for corporations. That's
Bernie
a big
Sanders
change.
wants.
Yes. So that would be a significant change to the operations of corporations that goes beyond rhetoric and language.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.